Welcome to the Heartland Crime Stopper Show. I'm your host, Chip Brown. Today we're going to visit the Winter Haven Police Department. We're going to speak to a detective in their Violent Crimes Unit and also do a ride-along. But we're going to start first with an interview with Chief Charlie Bird. We're here today with Chief Charlie Bird of the Winter Haven Police Department. So, Chief Bird, thank you for letting us come in and tape you here in your office today and some of your officers, and really excited to see what goes on here in Winter Haven.
Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy your day with our guys.
It'll be exciting, something different for us to get out of the studio. And one of the things we had talked about earlier, you really have a strong push that you lead with here in Winter Haven for the community policing and involving the community. Tell us how some of the things that you're doing in that end.
Well, the basis of this is law enforcement can't do its job. We can't complete our mission without community involvement. So that's a base. That is a foundation for this department. All the way from doing our strategic plan and inviting community members to be a part of that plan. They help structure that plan, to new officers that we have that come in and brand new before they even start learning how to arrest people. They go out and they do community work because we want to stress, number one, that that's important for our department and that it's important for our profession. But then it's also important to the community that they see their officers, they know who their officers are, and that they can trust their officers and go to them anytime they need to give information or to help us in completing our mission. We feed at the mission. We help after school programs. We go to elderly facilities and assist there where we can and interact with them. To the boys, girls clubs, whatever we need to, wherever we need to reach out and touch lives, that's where we're going to do it. Because, like I said, we just cannot do our mission without the community's involvement.
Yeah, for so many years, the only time somebody saw an officer was when they had a wreck or something was stolen or some kind of trauma. We always seem to see them at their worst. And it's really nice to be able to communicate and let them talk to the officers when they're not having some kind of major disruption in their lives. Now, on the way up, we noticed downstairs in your officer briefing room that you had a new officer, and as you said, wasn't even hit the streets yet, but the first thing that you were teaching him was the community involvement.
That's correct. We want that right from the beginning. One of the things when I interview, when they get to my level for a new hire interview, I'm looking for the heart. I want to see if that person's a good fit for the police department, and because we can teach good people to be good cops, we can't teach bad people to be good people, and that's a strong focus that we put in those interviews. And then once we put that person on the street, we know that they got a good heart, they care about their community, and that's what we're seeing as the officers start growing in this department and start promoting up and everything. They have the heart for their community, and they truly believe in the philosophy that community policing and those relationships are very real and very important.
And of course, now you're reaping the benefits of that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, we reap the benefits on a regular basis, daily, from people coming in and calling me. I see them on the street when I'm walking, talking about the positive impact they have with our officers. I've even had people that have been arrested that have contacted me to thank me for the officer that we have because of the way that they were treated, and that arrest was something that they really needed to get their life back on track. So when you get those kind of compliments, that means you're doing something right, I think, and that means your officers are doing something right. And we've got a great family atmosphere. We've got a great group of individual officers here, and I think Winter Haven community is very fortunate to have the group that we have.
Yeah, times have really changed in that regard. Back in my early days, everybody that worked with the police department was either ex-military, I don't want to say brawlers, but the job was so much different. And now with society today and social media, an officer is required to do so much more than just arrest people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that we have to do. We have to change our mindset in that. You know, law enforcement does so much more than enforce the law. We have to, we're being challenged and asked to do many things by the government when they hand things down to a perfect example is mentally ill patients. Law enforcement had one remedy for that 10, 15 years ago, and that was to arrest them or Baker Act them. Now we have CIT. We go out and try to prevent. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done with mentally ill, but there's definitely more tools in the toolbox than there were years ago. So I think that we've evolved, and really it comes back down to that community, because again, without the community, we can't arrest ourselves out of social issues. Law enforcement can't do that, even though people look to law enforcement to solve those problems. We can't. We have very limited resources on what we can do, but we can be a part of the solution. We can be part of the antidote to fix that. But the relationships is what gets that started. To include another example, I said that we feed at the homeless shelter. Well, a lot of those folks that we feed now will come up to us and talk to us about something that's going on or information that we need, where before it was very standoffish. Those folks are on the street. They see a lot going on. They're a perfect resource. So, again, it goes right back down to those relationships. They're important.
Now, Chief, you've seen some success in your stats with your community outreach programs, haven't you?
Yes, sir. We've had another reduction in crime, actually between 12 and 13% this year. Violent crime's down. Crime overall is down. And I attribute that to, that doesn't happen by accident. That happens through hard work. We have a crime suppression model here at the police department that we utilize. I think that helps make it successful. But in going back to the community outreach, communities involved in that crime suppression model as well. Not only do they help us solve crimes, but we actually have groups, community members that come to our crime suppression model meetings that we have weekly that can give input and provide information from their angle, from DJJ to the housing authority. They're all part of that crime suppression model and that reduction in crime. So that's as a result of those relationships that I was talking about.
Yeah, it's a simple concept, but it's so hard to make it successful, because it takes the buy-in not only from the staff, but from the officers and from the community, which sometimes are slow to buy into that.
Yeah, they first of all, the community wants to know that their police department is going to be around, that you don't just come in and try to fix the problem. And that's what we had. I think that was in times past where some of the problems were, is that we're the police. We go in, we fix things, and we have no buy-in. You tell us what the problem is, and we fix it. That view has now shifted. That mindset has now shifted, and now we know that we need the community, and that's where it's successful. That's our successes are the community's success as well. And that was over 200 crimes less. And the way we look at it here at the police department is that's just not 200 crimes. That's over 200 people that were not victimized. So you try to put a person into that number so that it's not just a number, that it's a real person, and that's what really shows how much it matters.
Well, Chief Bird, we thank you for all the work that you've been doing and involving the community, and wish you the continued success, and I know that you will, with the hard work that you and your staff and your officers put forth every day. Thank you very much.
Well, my name is Justin Shook. I've been with Winter Haven Police Department for right at 2 years. I got in law enforcement when I got involved in an incident when I was younger, and I remember the feeling of the officer, how he made me feel a lot better instead of worried and scared. And I figured I'd like to share that with other people and be able to do that. We do deal with a lot of the same people every day. There are a lot of people out here who do support what we do and help us out. And dealing with people who are against law enforcement you got to build a rapport with them. And I've learned that you get there, you talk to somebody, treat them like a human, they'll help you out, and it goes a long way. And then you got some people that you see every day, like for instance some of these homeless people. I'll see them sometimes and hey, how you doing? And I'll talk to them. They'll tell me, hey, how's your day going? Good. They tell me that, I'm just hungry. I'll go get them food. And you build that rapport with these people in the community, and they share that stuff, and the word gets around. Because I've been told before, hey, I heard you did this. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Unfortunately, not everybody can recognize that stuff. and be brought out on TV like everything else. But at the end of the day, it still feels good when you go home, you know you helped somebody, and you know that you're appreciated for what you do. Oh, it's amazing. I love it here. It's everybody's close. You know, you don't have a huge agency where you don't know certain people. You know everybody here. Everybody knows everybody, and the leadership is great. They always helping the best way they can. They kind of lead for example and not by the book. You know, hey, you know, this is how you're supposed to do this. You know, it's definitely not one of those places where you're going to be scared to ask for the help. It's definitely you got the family-like atmosphere here, and I try to treat everybody with respect. Hopefully, they would return it. I don't really like yelling at somebody, but sometimes I have to. But, I mean, when I got the uniform on, it's my job. At the end of the day, you know, they don't pay my bills. I have a duty I need to take care of, whether I agree with it or not. I signed up for it. But like I said, I got to treat everybody with the same respect that I would want, and hopefully that they could return that to me. Whether you're older than me, younger than me, the same age as me, I'm still going to treat you, call you yes sir, yes ma'am. I try to talk people into the handcuffs rather than force them, and it's been pretty successful for me.
We're going to take a break now and look at some of our most recent cases. If you have information on any of these people that you see or any other unsolved crime or ongoing criminal activity, please call Heartland Crime Stoppers at 1-800-226-TIPS. That's 1-800-226-8477.
The individual pictured below is a suspect in a homicide which occurred on Monday, January 22, 2018, at the Lakeland Manor Apartments, 929 Gilmore Avenue, number 11. He's described as a light-skinned black male, approximately 6 foot, 130 pounds, with twist dreads and approximately 25 to 30 years old. Do you know who killed Leonard Wimbley Jr.? Wimbley was riding a three-wheeled bike on Masterpiece Road in Lake Wales on October 28, 2017, when he was struck and killed by a truck which fled the scene. The truck has been identified as a 1998 to 2009 Dodge 2500 or 3500 pickup. On February 14, 2018, the male seen in the picture below entered Walmart at 355 Cypress Gardens Boulevard wearing a plaid long-sleeve shirt. He selected a black backpack and filled it with items, then put his shirt over the backpack. After he walked out, he was approached by a loss prevention associate. He took the shirt off as they were walking back inside, then turned around and ran towards Avenue O Southeast. The Polk County Sheriff's Office has a warrant for this individual's arrest on charges of second-degree attempted murder, battery/domestic violence, violation of an injunction, and grand theft motor vehicle. On Saturday, February 17th, in the area of Highway 60 East and Silvio Road in Lake Wales, Brown and the victim were traveling together in a black Honda. Riemann began punching the victim in the face multiple times, then pushed her out of the vehicle while he was driving at a high speed. Lakeland police need your help to identify this suspect of a fraud that occurred on February 13, 2018, within the city limits of Lakeland. Lakeland police need your help in identifying this suspect of a theft that occurred on February 11, 2018, that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland. A resident of Winter Haven has fallen victim to a distraction burglary with many similarities to those happening across the county. Below is a composite sketch of two suspects and an image of a similar truck the suspects were driving. Lakeland police need your help in identifying the suspect of a theft that occurred on January 26, 2018 within the city limits of Lakeland.
If you have any information on any of the cases you've just seen
or any information on an unsolved crime, please contact Heartland Crime Stoppers and leave an anonymous tip. The toll-free tip line is 1-800-226-TIPS. That's 8477. You can also leave an anonymous web tip by going to www.heartlandcrimestoppers.com and click on the Give a Tip tab, or by going to www.p3tips.com. Don't forget, you can download our free P3 Tips app on your smart device. Whichever way you choose to leave a tip, you will remain 100% anonymous. If your tip results in an arrest, the recovery of stolen property, or the recovery of illegal drugs, you could be eligible for a cash reward of up to $3,000.
We're here with Detective Ladarius Cooper here at the Winter Haven Police Department. Now, Detective Cooper, you have been with Winter Haven Police Department for how long now?
About 7 years, Chip.
And you had an interesting start. I understand you started with Winter Haven as a police explorer.
Yes, sir. Right around, I would say, when I was going to Polk State College, wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my career. Of course, my mom knew some folks here. She worked for the city of Winter Haven as well for many years. Put me in touch with the right folks over here at the police department, and they said, "Well, tell you what, how about you come do a ride along with us? Kind of get your feet wet." Take a tour and whatnot. And of course, from that tour, got introduced to the folks that were over the Explorer program at the time and fell in love with it. And I did that right up until I started the police academy.
Now, did that kind of give you an advantage when you started going to the police academy, having that experience with the ride-alongs and with the Explorer program?
Oh, without a doubt, Chip. Our Police Explorer program definitely prepares any young person for a field in law enforcement. Weekly, we're covering state statutes. We're covering different scenarios that are definitely something that we deal with every day in law enforcement. You're responding to maybe a closed business scenario, how to deal with people that have mental instabilities. So it definitely was a huge leg up when going to the police academy.
Now, as most rookie officers, you started out, of course, on probably the midnight shift in patrol and doing all those fun things, and now you're a violent crimes detective. So tell us how that progressed.
I mean, just like you said, Chip, you start out working those long night shifts on patrol. I did that for about 5 years. Had the opportunity to come up to our TDY program, which is basically like a temporary assignment. Working with different detectives. You get assigned a caseload while actually following around all the different detectives from the general crimes unit, violent crimes, just getting an overall feel for investigations and what happens after, the initial report is taken. Of course, like I say, once I hit the 5-year mark, I decided it was time for a change. And of course, I put in 4 investigations and got the spot.
Yeah, even though you've had all that experience as a road officer, that's a pretty big paradigm shift from taking the calls, if you will, and doing maybe a limited investigation. But when you get up here, it's yours.
Oh, without a doubt. It's almost like night and day. With the patrol officers, you're getting the general information. That's our lifeline. We have to get it from somewhere. But of course, once you move it on to investigations, then information has to be followed up on by somebody else. The buck stops with you. There is nobody else past you to make sure that something's getting investigated. It's literally up to the detective to have that willpower and that tenacity to get after it the way they need to.
Yeah, and like you say, when you're in patrol, when you kind of go into your shift, you go home into your shift, and when you're a detective, when you come back into work, the stuff that you left when you left work the day before is still there, needing you to work on it the next day.
Oh, absolutely, it's still there, and even more so, when you're at home, that's when it really hits you. On patrol, if something pops up, from the prior shift, guess what? Somebody else can handle that. But as the detective assigned to a case, that's on you. So if somebody gets picked up or a victim needs to talk to you, or even a suspect may call your cell phone sometimes, it doesn't matter whether it's you just got home at 5:45 p.m. or it's 3 in the morning. You may have to jump up in the middle of the night and go handle some kind of call or, get called out to a different scene. So it definitely weighs on you. to say the least.
Yeah, it's a good training ground because it just is so important that you have that knowledge and have the basis that you learned, as a patrol officer to assist you as you learn and grow, as a detective. Now, how was the shift from going from property crimes detective to a violent crimes detective?
It definitely is a different shift. It's I don't want to say it's a totally different animal. The general idea is still the same. You're still obtaining information. You're still following up on leads, following up on different information, making sure that you see it through from the beginning until the end. But you see, some of the property crimes are a lot more frequent. A lot of your burglaries, a lot of your grand thefts, things like that. Those happen pretty much on a consistent daily basis, multiple times a day, depending on what store you're talking about. But when you move down to violent crimes, you're dealing with a little more of the, I would say, personal crimes. Things that are actually happening to folks. A lot of times people view property crimes as, crimes that don't really have too much of a victim to it, especially if it's just a wallet that gets stolen or, maybe a harassing phone call or something like that, which tends to maybe not have that same type of, deep-seated feeling to it. But when you're talking about some of the crimes that I investigate, your homicides, your robberies, these are things that people carry with them for sometimes months and even years after the incident takes place.
Yeah, on the property crimes, you have a victim, but typically they've just lost, maybe stuff from their car or from their house, which is very traumatic, but not nearly as traumatic when you see somebody who has been, beat up badly, with broken bones or shot or stabbed. And the trauma to that victim, not to downplay, the property crimes, but they have a lot to overcome.
Oh, most definitely. I can't even imagine what that must feel like for some of these victims to have to go through, these things well after the incident, well after, we've made contact with them, well after we've solved their case. Like I said, this is something that you're going to carry with you, years and years down the line, depending on what it is. Granted, we can't do much about that, but what we can do is ensure that the person responsible for that crime is held, accountable.
And of course, you do have the victim services where there's counseling you can recommend, and there's some avenues to help them deal with some of the crimes. But that can be a heavy load on a lot of these people. Let's go back to your property crime days. I know that Winter Haven detectives seem to have a phenomenal record of when we send tips. It seems like you guys just really get those. We get a lot of tips on your cases. And tell us what happens when a tip comes in, because you certainly just can't go out and arrest somebody because of the tip. There's still a lot of legwork that needs to be done.
Oh, yes, sir, without a doubt. Whenever we get a tip, something comes in, somebody goes to the website, produces, whatever kind of information they have, whether it's, hey, I think it's this kind of vehicle, or whether it's, hey, I've got the suspect's name, date of birth, address, phone number. I mean, you can get it from anywhere in the middle. But we definitely follow up on that information and try to verify, its authenticity as to whether this is something we can trust, or whether it's something that this person maybe just saw something on the news and thought they saw something. But we definitely follow up on it. We're definitely all in whenever we get some information that's valuable.
And so many people nowadays are sometimes afraid to get involved because of retaliation, not wanting neighbors to know, not wanting to have to go to court to testify, which is one of the things where Crime Stoppers, I think, kind of fills that void in the fact that they can leave a tip with us. We do give it directly to the agency that has that jurisdiction. And besides staying anonymous and helping solve crime, we can give them a reward if that tip ends in an arrest, which is helpful.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times we'll see these tips come in, and especially when the holidays are coming around. Oh, yeah. People definitely like to get a little extra spending money. And it's just a good reward, to know that I'm opening myself up. I'm going to be vulnerable to law enforcement, something that a lot of folks may not be comfortable with, but I'm going to get some type of reward at the end of the day for coming forward, being honest, and just providing them with the information that I have.
Yeah, like I said, the tips that come in that for Winter Haven, it seems like we get multiple tips, and of course it's sometimes it can be hard to determine which one solves that case. Typically, it's the first tip in, that gets the name, that gets that reward. And interestingly enough, just so in case the viewers aren't aware of this, it does not have to be on our website to qualify for a reward. Any information that you have on an unsolved crime or ongoing criminal activity, you can leave a tip with Crime Stoppers. We will forward it to the agency where has jurisdiction of that crime. And you can still be eligible for a cash reward of up to $3,000 if it ends in an arrest, the recovery of stolen property, or the recovery of illegal drugs. So it's just a great program to help encourage people. Some people, like I say, are a little hesitant, and having some monetary rewards to go along with it gives people that little extra push.
Oh yeah. I can't think of a better motivator sometimes. Everybody, whether you're the low man on the totem pole, or whether you're some high executive CEO, providing this kind of information and receiving that kind of reward, it's very fulfilling for anybody. I mean, I'm telling you, if I knew some information, I would definitely I wouldn't have a problem reaching out. Listen, I'd turn my cousin in, grandmother, whoever needed to be turned in for that kind of reward money. So it definitely is it's a good incentive, and I definitely think that people they take to it quite well. I can't tell you, of course, Chip, how many people actually take to Crime Stoppers and provide information on a regular basis, whether it's the homicide cases that we're solving or the $10 beer theft at Wawa. I mean, people are definitely coming out in droves to provide us with information, and it from a law enforcement point of view, it feels good to know that we have these partners in the community that are definitely willing to step up and help us, because we can't do it by ourselves. We definitely need a team mentality to go ahead and reduce crime and enhance the quality of life for our citizens.
Well, as Chief Byrd has pointed out, your crime rate continues to drop, and it's only because of the people involved in the investigations and the people leaving tips and providing information to you. And surprisingly, we have probably a good number of our tips, when people call, they don't say, I don't want a reward, I just want to report and I want to stay anonymous. So there are people out there, that really care about their community, and it's not just for the reward. And it is always nice to keep that in the back of your mind, that it's not just the money, it's people really care about their city, about Winter Haven, and want to make it a safer place to live and to work and to play.
Yes, sir. If I can bring up a case that I had not too long ago when I was in general crimes, we had I believe it was a Sprint store here in town that was burglarized by 4 individuals, and one of the first tips that came in was from one of the people responsible. It was, I believe it was his aunt, either aunt or a cousin or something like that, and she just wanted him to be off the street. She didn't want any type of, any type of glory. She didn't want any money. She just wanted to know that her loved one was off the streets. I believe this young man may have been on some type of medication, wasn't taking it, and she just knew that with the group that he was hanging out with, he was going to end up getting himself in trouble, which he did. But she just knew he was much safer in jail than out on the streets. So, I mean, like I said, we do have those folks that genuinely just care and want to see their loved ones in a safer place.
Well, Detective Cooper, thank you so much for taking time from your busy day, and hopefully your caseload hasn't increased too much while we've done the interview. But again, it's not only the community, but the detectives like you that go that extra mile to follow up on the tips and to make the arrest, which gives people the opportunity to get a reward. So thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chip. And before we end, I'd like to just say thank you to the Winter Haven Police Department, my command staff, Captain Castle, Lieutenant Phillips, and Sergeant Blanton for giving me this opportunity today. Thank you, Chip.
That's going to do it for this edition of the Heartland Crime Stoppers Show. Remember that Crime Stoppers offers a way for people who have information on unsolved crimes or any ongoing criminal activity to leave an anonymous tip. If that tip results in an arrest, recovery of drugs, or recovery of stolen property, you could be eligible for a cash reward of up to $3,000. So remember, it's a crime, and you can help make sure that they don't get away with it.